Welcome to Being James Bond, the longest-running James Bond podcast in the world.
No way! Oh.
I'm sending you around the world on a series of missions. You will be competing against each other for the chance to win £1 million. Eliminate the competition. Master the gadgets. And find your inner Bond. If you lose, you'll be out.
Is everything okay, darling?
Only the best will make it to the end.
This is horrific.
Don't look to your right, there's a shark.
Oh, fucking hell.
Remove the scorpions by their tails.
So I think you should do it.
Okay, so what are you going to do then?
007 Road to a Million Season 2. Now, I guess like a lot of people, we all saw Season 1. It's sort of an interesting thing. I mean, Amazon took over the, they purchased, and again, I don't remember the specifics about what they controlled, what they didn't. Before there was a sort of a complete creative control takeover by Amazon. They purchased the rights, the copyrights to 007, so it was like, okay, what are we going to do with that? So they came up with this reality show called 007 Road to a Million, and they did a season 1, and like everyone else, yeah, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, and I didn't feel like, that I lost several hours of my life watching the show. It was a solid okay, but a very tepid okay. Season 1 started out dull, picked up a little momentum, and then ended pretty dull. And along the way, we were all sort of scratching our heads saying, why does this not feel very much like a 007 inspired show? There was so many elements of Bond that were there that they could have taken full advantage of, and for some reason didn't. So it seemed to be struggling with its own identity. I saw a roundtable recently, the Bond Report, headed up by the bearded Blofeld, did a pretty cool roundtable, and they talked about the new season and the old season. And I thought they made some pretty good, very interesting observations, and I shared a lot of them. So yeah, the first season just did not feel like it was excited to be a James Bond show. It almost felt a little embarrassed to be a James Bond show. So while I thought it was passable, yeah, I mean, I on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 being sort of the mark. If it's a 5 or above, it's worth your time, and if it's below that, it's probably not. And just how bad is it? I gave it about a 4. I mean, honestly, I would not have run out to see this by any stretch of the imagination. It was okay, not offensively bad, but just talk about missed opportunities. Then comes season 2, and this one, I'll just say it, was much closer to the mark. They did a much better job this time around than before. There was a few things that they added that I thought made a pretty significant difference. I heard somebody say, I just mentioned the round table, and now I remember why I was mentioning it. But somebody had made the observation that the original season started out being completely non-007 related. And that it was something that they grabbed while it was already in production and decided to try to steer it towards James Bond. I can't confirm or deny that. The things that I've heard from some of the contestants from season 1 made it out like there was much more emphasis on Bond, and for some reason that you didn't see that after the editing. So again, I'm not sure. I got the impression the first time around, thinking that very same thing, that this show feels like it was not Bond related at all, and somebody late in the day decided to throw a James Bond spin on it. There was the whole thing with Brian Cox as the whatever you call him, the guy, the controller. So it felt like these people in the show felt like they were talking to somebody, and later on they dropped Brian Cox's voice over it. and tried to re-edit it in a way where they would just cut back to him once in a while, and he's kind of rolling his eyes or going, oh, they don't know what they're in for, or something or other. Wait till they see what happens next. And again, all of that stuff just seemed like it was sprinkled in the editing process, and that it had nothing to do with him or James Bond when they were filming. So this time around, it was much different. They came out of the gate with him kind of looking like he's a little more M. He has a sidekick this time who kept reminding me of Cate Blanchett, and I thought they worked together pretty well because he has somebody to bounce off of. And again, they're kind of giving a little more of a Bond feel by, showing the home base. Again, instead of him just sitting behind a desk talking to the camera, this had a little more of an MI6 feel. Like they're up there controlling and monitoring what's going on, etc., and being more involved. Is all that for show? Sure, it is. But again, I thought it was effective in what they were doing. I thought the contestants in this one were kind of interesting. I felt like if you asked me about some of the people in the first season, I probably couldn't tell you much about them. But I felt like this time around there were a few standouts, and they really did. They did a much better job at letting you get to know them and their personalities, and seeing some of the quirks of the contestants. And I actually very much enjoyed when they threw a curveball where they would have the teammates switch partners, and this person is now paired up with this person, and and I thought that was really interesting. I kind of felt like I was really taking an interest in the people. Didn't like all the people. I mean, some of them I was just like, they were kind of grating. But I thought the dynamics between them it was all very interesting. So I like that aspect of it. And I kind of like how, as the show would progress and people were, again, little by little, teams were getting eliminated. So it did give you more time to get to know the people that were left. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So some of the teams just sort of fell off my radar a little early on. They were all interesting. It was interesting watching many of them. There was a few couples where, again, she's doing all the work and this guy's saying, you're doing great, honey. And I was like, man, dude, just like step up a little bit there, guy. So, I'm watching this. So, of course, I'm, talking to the TV, and my wife is with me. So we're talking to each other. But, I'm just like, it was a little more fun this time, getting kind of caught up in the teams and what they were doing, etc. So again, a lot of the teams just sort of fell off my radar because they were done a little early or whatever. They were fine. There was a few that really stood out, and you were just like, okay, like for better or for worse. So Dylan and Dan were pretty cool. I liked Dylan and Dan. That was Dan was the father. He had the eye patch. Dylan was the son with a little bit of the autism, and so I thought they were a fun team to root for. Again, you saw the father and the son dynamic. You saw the father who was trying to pull his son out of his shell a little bit, throw him out into the world with these challenges. So again, they were very fun to root for. Kat and Maya, boy, these two got on my nerves. Maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but honestly, the Kat and Maya were the two girls. One was a model, and the little sister was. She was very emotional. She was struggling a lot. And honestly, early on, I thought for sure, well, these two are not going to last long. There was one where they're swimming the channel. And again, that's no joke. I mean, there was one where they're swimming up to this boat. She's trying to climb onto the boat, doesn't have a lot of upper arm strength, and is getting very frustrated. And I'm saying to myself, like, part of me was like, boy, she's annoying. I'm sure she's going to be gone very soon. The other part of me was very sympathetic. I'm like, I don't know that I'd have an easy time climbing onto this boat after swimming that far. I mean, you're obviously exhausted. So, but again, this little thing I'm doing in my brain makes it fun, where I'm kind of having a back and forth about how I feel about the contestants and everything. Much to my shock, they lasted all the way almost till the end. I mean, they were like the second place, and I was really stunned by that. I thought for sure they were going to be out very quickly, but they proved me wrong. So that was an interesting dynamic to watch. Rick and Natty, obviously, I think they were the ones who actually won, or at least got closest to the end. One observation is that no one yet has won the big million, but I'll get back to that. But they were good. I thought they were, very competent. A lot of them were very good. So then there was Rob and Alex. They were a married gay couple. He was, one of them was the Asian one, and what a character he was, because the entire time he's patting himself on the back. Oh, I have these skills. Oh, I'm very intelligent. Oh, I'm multilingual. I know this language. This is going to come in handy. And pretty much every single time, it didn't come in handy. Like whatever he said was going to be his big advantage, and he was almost like a supervillain. I mean, honestly, he's constantly patting himself on the back for his great intellectual prowess, and at no time, he started to become a parody of himself, because at no time did any of the things he's bragging about ever come to be. So that was pretty funny. And honestly, I thought one of my favorite moments was when Rob and Alex had to split up. And I think they split teams with Dylan and Dan. So Dylan, who was the autistic son, had to team up with Rob. And I thought the two of them, it was almost like I wanted to find out later that the two of them ended up keeping in touch and being best friends, because they seemed, it was like they kind of clicked so well and worked so well together, and they seemed like they were like, they were made to be like really good friends. So I was kind of rooting for them to like stay together longer, and I was very sympathetic to their team, and I wanted to see them do well. And it was funny. I mean, here's Rob out in the field with Dylan, and Alex is somewhere else barking orders at them, and Dan kind of says, "Hey, can I take over the communications for a little while? I think I might be better at this." And I was like, "No. Rob needs to hear it from me. He needs to hear it from me. I'm good at talking to him." And then he proceeds to just babble nonsense, like he's talking about things that are completely irrelevant. And so of course you're sitting there frustrated going like, dude, shut up and let the other guy talk. So yeah, I thought things like that were fun. I had much more fun with that aspect of this time around, watching the teams, watching them have to pair up with other teammates, etc. That part was a lot of fun for me, and I really thought that was pretty cool. The challenges were much, much better. First off, as I said earlier, the first season started out dull, and then it ended dull. I remember the first season starting out with one pair. It was a couple of girls schlepping up some mountain in Scotland through the mud to find a briefcase, and it asks just a random trivia question, like has nothing to do with James Bond or where they are in this moment in time, or maybe it loosely did. I forget what the actual question was, but it just felt like it was totally disconnected. They didn't get it right, and it was like wah wah. And they're sitting in the gray, the hazy fog gray on this mountain, and it just, again, not a way to kick off a show. Then the show ends with them at this place in somewhere in Switzerland. I think it was Solden or near there, because I had the hunch that this show was eventually going to head to Piz Gloria, but of course they never got there. And they were just shooting these laser guns. So and nothing happened. Nobody hits anything. So you just see them for like 20 minutes going click, 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 and nothing. It was just the most lackluster way to end the show. This one started out with them jumping off the GoldenEye jump, and I was like, whoa. I mean, that I remember when I saw the trailers and I saw the bungee jump, and I thought, oh, that's probably going to be the grand finale. No, it was actually how they kicked off the show, and it kind of didn't have anything to do with anything. I thought they were showing you a preview of what was to come, but it was just in the opening of the show to introduce you to the teams, and I was like, oh, that's all right. That was interesting. So, I mean, so I kind of didn't know what to make of that, but I was like, well, that's a cool way to start it off. And then some of the challenges going forward, and I like the balance of Some of them were kind of brain-twisting challenges. Some of them were just adrenaline challenges where you're climbing up on top of this thing. They go to what they were calling the Carver Media Building, and they're up on the big antenna on top of that, and it was like, whoa, it was pretty hair-raising stuff. Other times it was more creepy. It was the tarantulas or the snakes or the scorpions. They're all moving the scorpions around and stuff. So I liked the fact that there was sort of a balance. I remember I used to watch back in the day, Fear Factor was one of my favorite shows. I used to love that show, but that show started out great, and then it kind of ended up sort of slipping into a pattern where there was usually like one challenge that was kind of the adrenaline challenge where they're climbing something really high. Then there was something gross. There was always a gross out challenge. You got to eat something really gross. I remember one time they had literal what they call Rocky Mountain oysters. They had a couple of cow testicles they had to eat. I remember, of course, they had to give them 2 just to kind of drive the point home what you're eating. Stuff like that. But so I thought this was kind of a little more akin to that in the good way. Again, I thought it was a really interesting balance of what the different challenges were, and a lot of them had genuine kind of spy feel to it, like it was spycraft. There was one where they were in the room and they figured out to go into the shredder and find the stuff that had been shredded, and they're putting things together again. Alex, who was the know-it-all, says no, don't do that, that's a waste of time, and then that turned out to be the thing. I thought the challenges were really good. The finale was okay. I mean, I think a lot of people saw the finale where they put the 5 items out to represent the things they did along the way, the different missions that they had accomplished, and they had to choose for each other, the 2 guys who were the winners. They had to sort of pick what the other one would pick. Ricky and Naughty, they would pick which one they thought would be the most significant to the other. I thought that was okay. I got what they were going for. They were trying to make the challenge personal, how they, and it was about how well they knew each other, having come through all these experiences, having gone through the experiences together. Which one do I think, was the most meaningful to the other that they'll respond to? And again, it was kind of, I remember feeling like, but there's a lot of ways to sort of answer that question. So, the fact that they didn't get it wasn't a total shock to me, because I thought that was kind of a long shot. And it wasn't like the most exciting of the challenges by any stretch. So I thought it was okay. It was okay. Would I have liked to have seen them win? Of course. Absolutely. I've heard people sort of complain that, we haven't seen anybody win this grand prize yet. And I'm not, if I don't see them win the grand prize next time, I might not watch the show again. To which I say, okay, I'd like to see them win too, but I don't want them to, like, all of a sudden, like, fix the outcome. I don't want them to just make, like, a really easy challenge at the end just so somebody can win, so we can go, oh, yeah, they won. I mean, I like the fact that the show is authentic, and then, they win or don't win on their own accord. So, and I think that's how it should be. So, again, I want to see them make it to the end. Again, the first season, I said they must be headed to Piz Gloria, and they never got there, so it's disappointing. But I want it to be real too. If they don't win, they don't win. So that's how I thought. I thought the ending was just okay. But again, I thought it was it wasn't disappointing either. It was just okay. But all in all, I thought this was a marked improvement over the first series. If I had to give it a score from 1 to 10, this one I think it's the first season I would give a 4. This one's easily an 8. I mean, I genuinely enjoyed all of it, and frankly, why am I watching this? I'm watching it to try to get a little bit of the James Bond vibe, right? I felt very much that I got that this time around. I thought that I loved where they went. From Thailand to Mexico City to the Bahamas. I mean, all the locations were great. I think they could probably do a little more even with the locations. I mean, frankly, I wouldn't mind if they injected a little bit of sort of history, and this is why Bond was here a little bit. And again, I thought all of the missions were fun because they had an echo of something that happened in one of the Bond films. So if you know the films like we do, I thought that was kind of cool. And yeah, I also heard some people sort of questioning, when you pull in these sort of ordinary people to do these challenges, does that make it better, worse, or what? Like, as opposed to, I suppose, if you had somebody who was a little more skilled. This guy was in the Green Beret. This guy was in the SAS. This guy, I don't know if I want to see, extremely capable people just acing all of the challenges. Or maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. But, so having ordinary people do Bond stuff, does that make it more relatable? I don't know if relatable is the word I would use, but I kind of felt like that would be the right way to go. I mean, let me say it this way. I would love if next year, or if next season, they decided to open it up to, first off, I don't think, I haven't seen any Americans or anyone who's not British be a contestant yet. I'm waving my hand over here. Listen, if you want an American Bond influencer to take a shot at it, I'm ready. I would love it. So, I promise I've been working out. I'm in pretty good shape now. I can do some of the things. But yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to get, just your average everyday people doing some of these things. And again, I kind of thought that I don't know. I think when they're casting the show, they're grabbing ordinary people. They're probably looking for people who might turn out to be sort of interesting to watch. And I don't think you can control that. Like, you might do your best to find interesting people to be your contestants, but whether or not they live up to expectations is probably just a crapshoot, right? You're gambling. And I thought that the people that they had, they did prove to be kind of interesting. I did like the dynamics, and that was probably, maybe in some ways, it was the highlight of the show for me, was just watching these people interact. But the bottom line is, I think you can't really do anything else except get, your average Joes to go and do these things and see if they rise to the occasion. I mean, that's what it's all about. Like, are you going to rise to the level of James Bond to do this thing? And I think a lot of them did, a lot of them didn't. And I think that's what makes it exciting. So yeah, all in all, I really did enjoy the season. I liked it very much. It made me very interested to see it again. I hope, frankly, that they stick to the format. I hope that they stick to what they've put together this time around. I don't have a lot of constructive criticism for the next time around. I think they did it pretty well, hit it on the head. And again, I hope they stay consistent and do it again. I'm interested to see another season. So there you go. That's my thoughts on 007 Road to a Million Season 2. I enjoyed it very much, and I hope to see it again. I hope there's a Season 3, and I will be ready to watch it. Not just to review it, but I think I will just genuinely enjoy it. I'll pour myself a cocktail, and I will enjoy every episode, I think, as long as it stays like this. So there you go. This is your good buddy Head of Section with a review of 007 Road to a Million. Again, the launch of Being James Bond Volume 2 is about a week away. So, again, please pick up a copy and bring it to the launch if you're worried that you might get there late and not get a copy. And I'm very excited to see everybody there. I know there's people that I'm going to see that weekend that some of them I have not met at all, that I feel like I've been talking to forever. We're finally going to meet. Some of them I've met before but haven't seen in years, because, again, I haven't really done any traveling since COVID, which is kind of crazy to me. So, yeah, boy, am I just jazzed for that weekend. So, guys, thank you, as always, for listening to Being James Bond. Thank you for all of you who have picked up a copy of Being James Bond Volume 2. Thank you so much for the pictures on social media. It means everything. And with that, this is your good buddy Head of Section. I will see you all very soon. And as always, keep living like James Bond.